gentlemen. I am Srani Hashmat, your social studies teacher. You are totally missed. Please follow the rules to be safe and sound, so please stay indoors. Today we're going to continue our new lessons in the fourth quarter. We took the Nile and we took the Old Kingdom. And we said that historians divided the Egyptian history into three periods: the Old Kingdom, the Middle Kingdom, and the New Kingdom. We took the Old Kingdom and we are going to continue with this segment, the Pharaoh. The Egyptians believed that the strength and unity of their country came from having a strong ruler. In other words, having a strong leader made the Egyptians feel safe. At first, Egyptian rulers were called kings. Later, they were called pharaohs. Take care that pharaohs is a title for the Egyptian leaders in the past. What's meant by pharaoh? Pharaoh means great house or great palace. Sometimes women became rulers and were called pharaohs also, but it was generally for men. Okay? So again, pharaohs were the powerful kings of ancient Egypt, and most of them were men. For Egyptians, the pharaoh was a ruler, a priest, and a god. He plays three roles: a ruler, a priest, and a god. Priest means a religious man. So, in other words, the pharaoh was the political and religious leader of the Egyptian people. What was the role of the pharaoh in the Old Kingdom? What did he do? Or his tasks in the Old Kingdom? Number one, he gave gifts of land to rich people. This means that he owned all the land of ancient Egypt. Number two, the pharaoh built and repaired dams and irrigation canals to make sure that the production of land was well. So he was in charge of repairing dams and to make irrigation canals in an excellent way in order to be sure that the production of land will be in a good way. The pharaoh also ordered the building of Preg granaries. What's meant by this word? Granaries means buildings of or for storing grains, okay, such as corn, wheat, and so on. What was the importance of building granaries? First of all, they are used for storing grains for good harvests and in order not to be starved in times of bad harvests. So it's a way to keep the crops in a good way and use them in bad harvests. Number four, the pharaoh chose all government officials. What's meant by that? What's meant by government officials and what did they do? Were they important? Of course. They were responsible for collecting taxes, or in other words, taxes were gathered by them, and also they give out the building permits. Okay, so these are the two things or the pharaoh uses or used for them. Number five, trade with other lands was in pharaoh's hands. The word of a pharaoh was a law. The Pharaoh represented the gods on earth, so the Egyptians had to obey his orders without telling him anything. That's why trade was in his hand. Pharaohs were treated with great respect. When they appeared in public, people played music on flute and cymbals. Also, they bowed. Important rituals for Egyptians. The Pharaoh was the first to cut the ripe grain. Egyptians believed that this would bring a good harvest. Ripe grain means before it's time to eat it. So they cut the fruit as a sign of good harvest. When Egyptians believed that when the Pharaoh do that or did that, this is a sign of a good harvest. Also, he made the first break in the irrigation dikes each year to open the land to the water. When the water went down, he drove a sacred pole around the capital city. The Egyptians believed this ritual would make the soil rich so they could grow good crops. So this means they have certain traditions. They highly respected him, or they highly respected the Pharaoh. So they left him to open the irrigation dikes in order to water the lands. And when he did that, what happened? The Pharaoh started to drove a sacred bull. It's a kind of animals around the capital city, and it's a sign for having a good soil or rich soil. This is one of their rituals also. I have to add something very important, that many pharaohs went to war or wars when their land was threatened or when they wanted to control foreign lands. If the Pharaoh won the battle, so the conquered people had to recognize the Egyptian Pharaoh as their ruler and offer him the finest and most valuable goods for their land. It was also a kind of respect. So this means that even foreign lands showed a high respect to the Pharaoh. Okay? That's for today, and goodbye.